So right triangles, that's what this whole unit was on. We finished it before all the snow came, so we're just reviewing everything today. We're going to go ahead and make sure all the computers are closed so that we're paying attention. This sheet is the only thing we're doing today, okay? How do you know how to approach the problem? It depends on what you were given. If all you have are sides of the triangle, you're going to do your Pythagorean theorem. So if all you have are sides, that's your a squared plus b squared equals c squared, okay? If you are given one of the angles, besides the right angle, they're all going to have a right angle. The unit is on right triangles, okay? But if you have an angle that's given in there, like 33 degrees or something, then you're going to do trig. You're like, what's trig? That's that sine, cosine, tangent that I have written on this board and that board and the board back there. It's going to stay up there during the test. You don't have to memorize it. But if you have an angle, that's what you want to do, is your opposite adjacent hypotenuse. And if your angle is the answer, that's when you do the inverse. You just type it using the inverse button on Desmos. All right, it even says inverse on it. So it's just how you type it in. All right, we'll get through as much of this as we can. So for this first one here, what is the hypotenuse of this triangle? Well, here's your right angle. The hypotenuse is the side across from it. So using two letters, how could you call the hypotenuse? Yeah, DF, perfect. Or FD, all right? That's it. It's that easy? Yeah. The test is not going to be all really difficult problems. You're going to have some easy ones, right? So for that triangle shown, DE is 15, so we're going to fill that in. DF is 19. What is the length of EF? So I'm going to call that X. You could call it A, B, C. You can call it whatever letter of the alphabet you want. I'm going to call it X. Do you see how all we have are sides? I don't have one of these angles labeled. So that's our Pythagorean theorem. It's going to be x squared plus 15 squared equals 19 squared. And then I am just going to put it in the calculator. This test is very much set it up, put it in Desmos. Set it up, put it in Desmos. You just use your calculator for, most of it. Now, this is where this gets annoying because I have to share my screen every single time I go to the calculator to make it show up on the video. So you'll kind of have to bear with me. All right. But I'm going to type it in exactly like it is on my paper. What is that? X squared plus 15 squared equals 19 squared. And I'm going to need to pinch this together a little bit to kind of zoom out. I'm going to click right here. Now, you won't be able to mess this up on your test because it's multiple choice. You'll be able to pick the right one. But on your paper, what does it say to round to?
Spring Nation, good morning, and happy Spring Friday here in Hot Springs. We are currently in our first block classes. The bells will ring here in a few moments for students to move, or not a few moments. It'll ring here shortly for you all to go to your third block classes.
Okay, so sorry, I paused during that announcement. So what does it say to round to on your paper? For that? Whole number. All right, so since it says 11.6, we're going to round that up to 12. Good. But again, you won't be able to mess that up on your test because it's multiple choice. It's not like one of the choices is going to be 11 and the other one's going to be 12. Like it'll be close enough and you'll be able to choose the right one. Right? So looking at this next one, it says, what is the length of ST? So I'm going to call STX. That's the thing that we're missing. And we're, again, going to set up our Pythagorean theorem. We're looking just at this triangle that I'm highlighting green there. Bless you. Okay, thank you. All right, so it's going to be x squared plus 2 square root of 6 squared, whatever that is, we'll use our calculator, equals 8 squared. So it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, for this one, it doesn't say to round to anything. What does it say to do? Okay, so I can't really just shove this one in the calculator. Okay, we're going to have to actually work it out. So it's going to be x squared plus, now I'm going to go ahead and just be your calculator for this. If you were to type 2 square root of 6 in the calculator, you're going to get 24. Just for the sake of time, I'm just telling you what that is, but you would type it in. Equals, and then I'm just going to throw it out there. Does anyone know 8 squared? 8 times 8? 64. Good job. You don't have to know that, though. I was just throwing it out there. We're going to subtract over the 24. That's going to give us x squared equals 64 minus 24 will be 40. And then to get rid of your squared, you're going to square root. Now, this is where you have to split it. And I'm going to leave these numbers up here. We're going to draw our 2 little houses. And you need to come up with 2 numbers that multiply to be 40, but one of them has to be one of these. So like half the answer is up here. Which number up here would go into 40? 4. Good. Just, use your common sense. 4 feels like, the right number. And then what goes in the other one is, well, 4 times what gives you 10? Okay, good job. Cool. And then the whole point of choosing one of these is that it's going to work. I always just scratch them out. Your square root of 4 is 2. So your final answer is 2 square root of 10. Now, if you're sitting there going, Miss Cole, that was too much for me. I didn't like anything about that. Here's what you can do instead. You can take the original problem and just put it in the calculator exactly like we did for the last one, but you're going to get a decimal. All right. Do you understand what I'm saying? It'll be like some weird decimal. And then you would test each one of your multiple choices, A, B, C, D, until you get that same decimal. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, okay, so if you were like, I didn't like working that out, you can do it in the calculator. It's just going to be a little more button pushing. All right, this one even tells us Pythagorean theorem. It says Pythagorean right there. So we're going to have p squared plus 7 squared equals 25 squared. And this one I can just put in the calculator. But if I type p, nothing is going to show up. So what do I need to type? Yeah, x. Okay, so if you bear with me, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll just put it in the calculator. So I'm going to just change this one. X squared plus, what was it? 7 squared equals 25 squared. Move this out of the way. Scooch this over, find where there it is. And our answer is 24. So you set it up, put it in the calculator. Now for this next one, it's which of the following is going to work to be a right triangle. So listen, on your test, you're going to have to test choice A and see if it works. Test choice B and see if it works. Do you get what I'm saying? You're going to have to test each one of them to see if it works. But for the sake of time right now, I'm going to tell you the answer is C, and I'm going to show you how to test it. Which is the biggest number out of those? 18, 24, or 30? 30. Okay, so that has to be C. That has to be your hypotenuse. And you're going to just test it. 18 squared plus 24 squared equals 30 squared. And you're just going to see if it's true. We're just going to test it to see if it's true. So again, let me go to the calculator. This is a very calculator-heavy test. If you're good with the calculator, you're going to be just fine, right? So what I'm going to type in is, oh gosh, what were the numbers? What was it? 18 squared plus 24 squared. And then in the next one down, I'm going to put 30 squared. Do you see how they came out to the same thing? If you were to test choice A, here, I'll just do it real fast since I have the calculator open. What were the numbers in A? All right, this 14, and if I change this to 22, and then what was the other one? 31. Do you see how those are not the same? Yeah. Okay. On your test, you're going to have to, check each one of them. I'm not doing every single one for right now, just for the sake of time. All right. And the next question is the same thing. Just again, make sure the largest number is C. So if you were to test this one, 15, 13, 12, what's the biggest? 13. So when you type it in the calculator, you would have to do it like this. You would type 5 squared plus 12 squared in one little box, and then you would type 13 squared in the other little box, and you would see if they're equal. Again, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and tell you those ones are equal. If you test these ones, and what's the biggest number out of those three? So just make sure 17 squared is the thing that's by itself. Those will be equal. And if you test these three, they will not be equal. So again, you just test them and see which one's equal. All right. All right, labeling this. Across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. And when you take your test, I'm going to have you get a marker from up here and, just write on your computer screen. Across from the angle that's labeled, across is opposite. Do you remember me saying, like, if we're across the room from each other, we're on opposite sides of the room? Like, across is opposite. Whatever the last one left is adjacent. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to use what this says right here. You don't have to memorize it. Literally just look at the board for me. I've got it written right up there. It says tangent. Tangent is what over what? All right, so this is opposite over adjacent. That means opposite is 4 and adjacent is 3. Cool. Don't walk away. I'm going to hand you this paper. Thank you. You could just shut that all the way from. All right, so we used 3 and we used 4. What's the other side then? Yeah, 5 right there. Thank you. So on your computer, you're going to drag and drop the numbers into place is all that is. All right, but you don't have to memorize that. I'm going to leave it on the board. All right, using that same triangle, what is the value of cosine? Well, look up there. Any of the 3 places I have it written, cosine is what over what? Yeah, adjacent over hypotenuse. So that would be 3 over 5. 3 over 5 is the answer. That's it. Again, there's going to be some easy ones on there. So let's go ahead and try and label this one. Across from the right angle is what? Hypotenuse. Good. Across from this 28 that's labeled is perfect. Whatever's left. Nice. Cool. So you guys remember stuff from 2 weeks ago. Very good job. Now, one of them's blank. Which one can you scribble out? Yeah. Hypotenuse is blank. And then you look at the board. You don't have to memorize it. Which one of those uses O and A, opposite and adjacent? Tangent. Perfect. So we're going to put tangent of 28. It's always the angle. So tangent 28. And again, on the board, it says opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 15 over x. That is all the work that it is. You just need to type it in the calculator. Now, I can't tell you how to type it in the calculator once you have the test in front of you. So everybody just look. I'm going to show you how to type it. Oh, and what mode do you have to be in or it is going to be wrong? Degrees. And I'm going to tell you that before you start the test, like, hey, put it in degree mode. But what you're going to do, I think mine already is in degree mode. You're going to hit this little wrench up here for your settings and see how degrees is highlighted. All right, just make sure degrees is highlighted. I'm going to put y equals, and then I'm basically just going to type what's written on the paper. What is it? Tangent 28, and then the other one is 15 over x. You just type what you had, on the paper. Click the intersection. I got 28.2. Is that what it said? What did it say to round to? Tenths? Yeah, 28.2. Again, you will not be able to mess up the rounding on the test because it's going to be multiple choice. And it's not like you're going to have one choice that's 28.2 and one that's 28.3. Like, it's not going to be that close. You'll be able to pick the right one, I promise. All right, label the hypotenuse. Across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. Across from the 42 degrees is what? Opposite. Across means opposite. Whatever's left is adjacent. Now, I always say scribble out the one that's blank, but it feels like the hypotenuse and the opposite are both blank, okay? So let's read the question. It says, find the length of hypotenuse. So I want to call the hypotenuse x. That's the thing we're looking for. So which is actually the blank one? Yeah, opposite. Good. So if you aren't sure, always go back and just reread the problem. Then you look at the board. Which one uses A and H? Cosine. Cosine 42 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So 7 over x. Perfect. And then you go and slam it in the calculator. You just set it up, put it in the calculator. Thanks for being patient while I type. I want to make sure you know how to type it in. So you put y equals in both of them. We have cosine 42, and then the other one is 7 over x. Cool. I'm going to find the intersection, which is over here. What does this one say to round to? 100th is 2 places. So it'll be 9.42. That one's going to round up. 9.42. Again, keep saying this. Don't worry about that, though. It'll be multiple choice, and you will be able to pick the right one. If you even get close enough, you'll be able to pick the right one. All right, we're doing good on time, all right? Draw a right triangle, and you're going to need to use your imagination. This one's about football. You all know what a football is. You all have all seen a football get kicked off the ground, all right? Super Bowl Sunday this weekend. All right, so it says the angle of elevation is 14 degrees. That's going to go right there with the ground. What is the ground distance? This is the ground down here, all right? So that's x. And it says the ball is 20 feet in the air. So 20 goes right there. I'm not going to try and draw a football. I can't draw. But do you get that the football was down here on the ground? It got kicked up into the air? Okay. So now we're going to label. This is the hypotenuse. Across from the 14 degrees is opposite. Whatever's left is adjacent. Scribble out the one that's blank. It's very much a process. You just do the same thing every time. Which one am I scribbling out? Hypotenuse. Then you look at the board. Tangent. 14 is your angle. It equals opposite over adjacent, so 20 over x. For the sake of time, could you type that in the calculator? Yes. You would have y equals tangent 14 and y equals 20 over x, and you click the intersection. Okay. Because again, I'd kind of like to be able to finish this, and we have 20 minutes, so I think we can do it. All right, again, go ahead and draw a triangle. We're going to use our... I bumped the projector, though. Hold on. It says the angle it creates with the house is 41. So your angle actually goes right there. This is the ladder, and this vertical part is the house. So the 41 actually goes up there, which is a little confusing. The base is 5 feet away. So the base is, the bottom of it. How long is the ladder? The ladder is the hypotenuse. The ladder is the part that's leaning. The ladder leans against the house. If you were like, hey, Miss Cole, that was difficult for me to read through. Here's my pep talk on that. How many sides has a triangle got? 3. Throw the numbers on there somewhere. You have a 1 in 3 chance of guessing where they go. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you have a good chance of just flat out guessing it. All right. Here's the hypotenuse. Across from the 41 is opposite. Whatever's left is adjacent. Which one do we scribble out? Yeah, adjacent. Then you look at the board. Which one uses opposite and hypotenuse? Yeah. Sine 41 equals opposite over hypotenuse is 5 over x. Again, for the sake of time, how would you put it in the calculator? You'd put y equals, and then you would type sine 41, and then the next one down, 5 over x, click the intersection. Right? This one is arguably the hardest question on the whole thing. Maybe put a star next to this one. It says find the perimeter. That means you have to add up all 3 sides. The only nice thing about it is it says round to the what? Whole number. So we don't have to deal with any decimals, but we are going to have to find all 3 sides. So I'm going to call this one x, I'm going to call that one y, and we have to find them all. Okay, so this is a harder problem. Label the hypotenuse. Across from the 35 degrees is opposite. Here's adjacent. Now you don't get to scribble anything out because you have to use it all. So I'm going to just cover it up with my hand and we'll set them both up. All right. If I cover this up, because I'm going to try and find x, do I want sine, cosine, or tangent? Look at the board. You don't have to memorize it. Opposite and adjacent, tangent. So we're going to do tangent 35 equals 12 over x. And then I'm going to cover this one up because we need to find y. So which one uses O and H? Yeah, sine. Good. So it's going to be sine 35 equals 12 over y. When you type it in the calculator, you can't type y, though. You're still going to have to type x, okay? But again, for the sake of time, if you type this one in, I'm just going to tell you what it comes out to because I want us to be able to finish this. But if you type this one in the calculator, you are going to get 17. And if you type this one in the calculator, you are going to get, where is it? 21. But again, for even the one that says y, you have to type x. Now, your final answer to the whole thing is the perimeter. So you're going to add 17 plus 21 plus what else? Like, what's the third side? 12 is that third side of the triangle. So perimeter means add up all 3 sides. So you had to find the 2 that were missing, add them all together. If you add that all up, you're going to get 50. Again, arguably, I think that's the hardest question on the whole test. Because you have a lot of work there. You have to find both sides and you have to add them all together. All right, find the value of x. This is your hypotenuse. Across from that x is opposite. 43 is adjacent. Which one do we get to scribble out? Opposite. Good. Then you look at the board. Which one uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. You don't have to memorize. It's going to stay up there. Now it's cosine of x. That is your red flag. Hey, I need inverse. When it's like the x is there, you're missing the angle. That's, hey, I need inverse. Okay. So cosine x equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So 43 over 75. In my opinion, these ones are actually easier to type. It even says inverse. You just need to open the little menu here. I'm going to show you how to do it. Again, what mode are we in? I cannot stress to you enough, if you are not in degree mode, all of your answers will be wrong, okay? So please put it in degree mode. All right, we're going to open this little menu at the bottom. Does anyone remember where else we're going to click? Let me move this thing out of the way so you can see it. Oh, good. You remembered before I even moved it. Nice job. Functions. And then it even says inverse right there. We want inverse cosine. Cool. So inverse cosine, and then I'm going to type 43 over 75. And then that's your answer, 55. It said round to a whole number, so 55. All right, let's try it again. Label the hypotenuse. Across from that x is opposite. Whatever's left is adjacent. So which one do we get to scribble out this time? Yeah, adjacent. Look at the board. Which one uses these two is sine. Now it's sine x equals 25 over 82. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go type it in, but you would click functions, and then you would click inverse sine, and then you would type 25 over 82, and it's going to give you your answer. Okay? Now, these next three, I don't really expect anyone to remember this. It's been like 3 weeks at this point with all the snow that we've had, so I'm just going to re-explain it from the beginning. But these are your 30, 60, 90, and your 45, 45, 90 triangles. So you see how that's a 30 there? Okay, that means I know the other one's 60. And here's how you label it. This is your hypotenuse, same as we've been doing. Across from the 30 is the small side, and then the other one is the big side. Does anyone remember that from it's almost a month at this point, small and big? I kind of don't really expect anyone to. But here's how the pattern works. To get from the big side to the small side, you're going to get rid of that square root of 3. So if this is 9 square root of 3, the small side is just 9. You just get rid of that square root of 3. And then to get from the small side to the hypotenuse, you double it. You multiply by 2. So 9 times 2 is 18. And so x is 18 for that. That's just your pattern that you memorize, right? So you double it to get there. Let's try it again. Again, I didn't really expect that anyone remembered it. But if you hold on to this, you get to use it on your test. So now for this one, you're given the hypotenuse. Across from the 30 is, I call it small for this. And then across from the 60 is big, okay? So if this is 24, what do you think small would be? Well, it has to be smaller. You're going to divide by 2 this time. So 12 is the small side. And then to get to the big side, you just put a square root of 3 with it. So just 12 square root of 3. It's just a pattern that we memorize. And then this one is 45, 45, 90. This one's a little easier. If these are both 45, they're congruent. That means the other sides are also congruent. All right, so if that's 17, x is also 17. And then for this one, to get to the hypotenuse, instead of square root of 3, it's square root of, oh, good memory. Square root of 2 is that one. Again, if you hold on to this paper, you can use it on your test. It's just a pattern that you use, right? And then these last ones are your review questions. We're going to finish this. Nice job, guys, all right? If a triangle has an angle greater than 90, it is not acute. I'm not going to write out all these sentences because that's going to be annoying. I'm just going to write your clue for how you remember these, and then we'll do it verbally. For a converse, you take the 2 parts of the sentence, flip them. All right, so the sentence would be, if a triangle is not acute, then it has an angle greater than 90. You just swap them. All right. Inverse, you keep the order the same, good, but you negate. It means you add or remove the word not. So that would be, if a triangle does not have an angle greater than 90, then it is acute. You'd get rid of the not in that part. And a contrapositive means you do both. So you switch the order and you negate it. So it would be, if a triangle is acute, it does not have an angle greater than 90. Sorry, I didn't want to make you write out all those sentences. Is that okay? No one was dying to write out all the sentences. All right, that's, if you're using this on your test, that's what's going to help you the most, right? And then the last thing is symmetry. Line symmetry means you can draw a line that cuts it like butterfly wings that match up with each other. Point symmetry means it's the same upside down, right? So what do you think about the letter F? Does that have any kind of symmetry? No. All right, so it's neither. The letter X, you can draw a line through it, and it's the same upside down. So that one's both. N, if you take your paper and flip it upside down, does it still look like an N? Yes, so that is point symmetry. And then the letter A, here I'll draw it bigger for you. Do you see how if you draw a line through, it is like butterfly wings? Like you could fold it on the line and it matches up? Yeah, so that is line symmetry.